Doesn't matter right behind me, so. All right, here we go. We got one question mark so far. DC stream. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, coming to you live from DC. This is Mikey Millions here with my man Jay.
How's it doing?
And we are going to go catch the soul on the street. Can you guys hear me with my mask on? What do we got? 12 people so far? Can you guys hear me okay with this? Let me know in the. You guys can hear me with the mask on? All right, welcome guys. All right, hey, so we are live in DC. Our goal out here is to catch what's happening on the street without having to rely on, the big news agencies or some partisan Facebook groups. We're gonna try to catch what's actually going on out here at the ground level. We're gonna see what people have to say. We're not out here to participate in any kind of rioting or looting. So if you wanna see something like that, there's other channels that'll show it to you. I'm not gonna risk this channel over something like that. So let's go ahead, let's check out what's going on here, and we'll walk down BLM Plaza, and then we'll start interviewing a couple of people. Let's turn this camera around. All right. Hey guys, so we're walking down BLM Plaza right now. We've got an endorser here with the flag. And there's our man Jay with the dog, so. So what we're gonna do out here, cover your nose with the mask. I know, my mask keeps falling off, but I'm trying. I think it's only as I'm talking. But so here we got this BLM Plaza right now. A couple days ago, they put down on the road, they put down Black Lives Matter, but then they also put down this, which you don't get to see from the TV most of the time. It says defund the police. And then over here, M4BL. You know what that means?
The Movement for Black Lives.
A movement for Black Lives.
Local chapter.
So, here, can you hold this flag? Is that right? All right, I got two hands on the phone now, so it'll be a little better. But there's a lot of boarding up, there's a lot of graffiti. But overall, this place is it's pretty peaceful. It's bright and early in the morning, so there's not a whole lot of action going on yet. The rough crowd probably comes out at night. But we'll take a stroll and see what's going on. Hey, everybody tuning in. Appreciate it. We're catching the live ground action in DC as people start showing up today. And then once we take our walk down BLM Plaza and catch the other side, then we'll start talking to some folks out here. We'll discuss racial inequality in terms of economics, and we'll see if any of these people are in spy calls or if they're all bearish. My expectation is that most people here won't know what that means. So that would show you that there's one reason there for inequality, is that there's a lack of education. I went to a pretty, relatively middle class, slightly upper class, kind of that border school, and we had a lot of education on finance. So, even just going into high school, I learned what stock options were. I don't think that's true for most places out here, where they just don't have the funding or the staff to support something like that. So. So far a lot quieter. Why loot when you can sell covered calls? That's the question I ask sometimes. Why do that when you can sell covered calls? It's basically looting the market anyway, once you're taking other people's money, just betting against you. And yes, I will be expecting people out here to endorse Theta Gang once I put my name behind it. I've even got my Theta Gang flag on. There's really not a whole lot going on around here right now, but so let's just flip the camera around. So, like I was saying, my high school gave us the opportunity to learn very early, before we really started making any money. We're getting our first job at, like McDonald's or something, making $7 an hour, if you were lucky. And yet we were learning how to use that money to invest in a 529 plan. And places that don't have that opportunity probably wind up with a lot of people, they come into their adult lives not prepared to. Oh, we got something.
It's going to be a hot day, so please remember to stay hydrated. We have water in our facilities right over here, and more water down there at the White House to the left side.
I thought it was going to be a real activist, but he's recommending that everybody drink water. So, hey, you guys are asking where you can get a hat like this. So, if you're on Discord, hit up Mr. IV. He's got these hats. He's got some other Theta Gang type merch too. But that's where I got mine. You can get it there too. I'm not selling it on my merch page. It's only his. But like I was saying, there's tremendous number of reasons for financial inequality, and it's not just between white and black. It's between people that grow up in poor neighborhoods versus middle class and rich neighborhoods. So I'm thinking that a good approach. I gotta fix this mask.
Right side of this corner. And if you're
A good approach toward fixing some of those issues might start with just getting the word out there that people are interested in finance. People want to make something better themselves. You need the education to do it. And you can't just go online and find out about stock options trading from Wall Street bets. You could try, but it's probably not going to work. What we need is a lot of education starting at an early age from people that are interested in doing that. And you need a staff to support it. So I'm flipping over my mask because I think this is problematic. Can you hold this for a second?
Yeah.
Thanks. I think my mask is on like upside down. That's why it's not working. And we're also going to talk about coronavirus here too, because I think we're in a pretty risky area for coronavirus, even though it's pretty early right now. All right, so we made it across BLM Plaza. There's a couple guys standing on top of stuff, but overall, it's not like a huge protest right now. So I'm hoping to see some more action as we get through the day. But do you want to talk?
Yeah, I mean, we've been out here.
So here's Jay. We were.
Hey there.
Yeah.
We've been out here for probably an hour or so. We did an entire loop around the White House. They have it. Lafayette Square is normally right across the street from the White House. They have the entire square blocked off. You probably can't even get within 250, 300 yards of the front door of the White House. Normally you can get about 50, 75 yards away from there. It is pretty quiet. We witnessed a moment of silence earlier. We haven't seen any sort of, I mean, the prevailing belief is that there's all sorts of riffraff and fighting and rioting and looting and stuff like that happening like here, but it's mostly just a bunch of normal people. I mean, it's 9, 10 in the morning in DC right now.
Now, but the takeaway here is also that the companies that are making out great right now are the ones that are selling fences. So we walked around this entire perimeter of the White House. There's not one, not two, but 3 layers of fence. So the DD here is that it's time for people to start putting their money into call options on fence companies. I don't know any of those. 3M makes fences, I think, but it might not be enough to move their budget. Hey, oh, hey, it's Julia. Hey, Julia. Hey, if you guys know about a company that's producing fences and setting up fences, that is a good position for a call option. So consider that one. Additionally, if anybody wants to start a company that spray paints the graffiti off of stuff, call it untagged, and you will start making a stack of cash on it because there is graffiti up and down. I wish we could have showed you guys the Treasury building. It's covered in graffiti, which makes me happy because I think that's awesome. Yeah, National Rent Defense, somebody brought out, is a great option if you want to take a bullish position on that type of company. So literally free money.
They invested in the good one this time. This is not your standard fence that you see at a fair or something. This is a 6 foot tall, 8 foot tall.
Spikes on the top.
Spikes on the top, everything.
Yeah, you're not getting, I mean, you could probably get over that fence if you really wanted to, but you're going to cut your hands up a little bit, so it might not be worth it.
So this dog is...
And this is Basil, for those that haven't met Basil yet. St. Basil was a race dog, but was pitiful at it, so was about to get, I don't know, like deported or something.
Yeah.
And Jay saved the day. So
It's a good dog. It's a good house dog, bad race dog.
So Jay is one of I consider a woke person. There's arguments for both sides of the political spectrum. A lot of those arguments are asleep. People saying things like, socialism doesn't work anywhere it's tried. That is an asleep argument. Whereas you could have awake arguments against socialism, and it would all be about, incentivizing private property and advancement of the self, the invisible hand of the economy. I consider Brian on the woke side of any political discussion. So I'm interested in hearing from Jay, what I was describing before about inequality when it comes to education on finance. Have you had a similar experience?
So me personally, no. I did grow up really poor, but I, for some reason, got into one neighborhood that was actually all right, and it got into a decent school. This is inherently kind of a problem with the education system. The education system is, first of all, controlled by states, which is normally is not necessarily a bad thing, but because of that, there's a broad mix of laws. Usually what that means is that education systems are tied to the local income tax. So a school only gets its funding if there's a lot of tax value in that area. Unfortunately for that, that means that poor areas have bad schools, which continues to keep those people poor. It's the cycle of poverty is what it's called. Now this started you know, years ago, obviously, where, you know, extremely racist people said, we don't want these type of people in our neighborhood, we don't want black people in our neighborhood, we don't want immigrants in our neighborhood, stuff like that. Things like redlining became an issue, and then you still see these effects, even though redlining was primarily something that was a problem in the 30s and up to the 40s. To this day, where those old red lines still exist, or used to exist, you still see that kind of income inequality. There's no inherited wealth if you come up from being poor. If you're middle class, you have a good chance of being better off than your parents. If you're upper class, you have the same. When you're lower class, when you're poor, it's really hard to do, especially combine, you know, income inequality and inability to inherit wealth with just plain old racism. It really puts, you know, a lot of people of color in a really bad position, and it's hard to get out of. And this is one of the things that Black Lives Matter stands for, in addition to, of course, police issues and over policing of communities of color. I could go on for days, but I don't want to completely bogart the entire stream.
Yeah. So I mean, a couple of the comments coming through right now are, well, why don't you see Asians, you know, Asians that come here from, like, you know, very poor Southeast Asian countries, why are they not complaining about wealth inequality? And one of the reasons I don't know is the answer to that question. I don't know why you don't see a lot of that. I can't give you the answer.
Yeah.
But we don't have to focus on who doesn't have an issue. We should focus on who does, and maybe we can come around to a better answer to it. You know, let's think about this too. It wasn't until 1964 that there was a civil rights movement. Or not the civil rights movement, but what was it, 1964 was the Civil Rights Act?
54.
54? Are you sure? I think it was in
54 was Brown versus Board of Education.
54
was the Civil Rights Act.
All right, so you had in between 54 and 64. In 64 you had the Civil Rights Act. But before that, there was no such thing as, you know, you had an extremely difficult time breaking out of poverty if you were black in the United States prior to that. And even then, after that, you still had a lot of, you know, racist issues, racism issues. You know, I was lucky enough that my grandparents were able to get a good job, and they made money that my parents then inherited, and that I stand to inherit in the future. A lot of people don't get that opportunity. When you're talking about 64 is the first opportunity you had to actually start really building an income with equal opportunities. So that wasn't that long ago. You know, we're talking about 60 years, not even 60 years. So, all right, so blank blank says, because we've been told if we failed and someone else succeeds, it is on us and not on somebody else. So he's describing that is why, he believes that that's why we don't see issues with the Asian community describing racism, because they tend to blame themselves. And I guess the implication there is he's assuming that black people do not take responsibility for their own failures and instead blame society. I haven't seen a whole lot of that in my experience. I don't know, Jay, you want to weigh in on that? What do you think? Is that just something that somebody would say when they dislike black people?
Listen, yeah, and that's true. I mean, it is super easy to be like, oh, well, you're just blaming people for your problems. But I mean, understand, we're talking about not like a couple years of inequality. We're talking about centuries, literal centuries of inequality. And then after things like slavery, you had Jim Crow, and then you had over-policing and things like that, which is really one of the cores of the Black Lives Matter movement, is over-policing. Once you catch a felony charge, which you're more likely to do if you're black or, you know, a person of color, it's hard to get a job from there, you know? And if you do get a job, you're doing something hourly, or it's gig economy. And then, 2020, the hourly workers, the gig economy workers, the people who have to work with other people, that's where you get COVID issues. So stuff like that.
So we're seeing a lot of people now in the comments section getting a lot more inflamed. A lot more inflamed than I was anticipating. Let's wait for these guys to finish yelling, and then let's start moving this toward economics and talk to some of the people that are actually out here instead of me and Jay just talking the whole time.
Correct.
So let's give it a minute here. These guys are still yelling behind us.
Can you head that way?
Yeah, I'm interested in actually, you know, seeing if there's anybody out here who's willing to talk to us about economics. So.
Yeah.
We're gonna start walking back.
Hey, there's a lot of people on here right now that are saying, hey, I'm brainwashed for feeling this way. I've been all over the world. You know, I've fought for the United States, not in an active war zone, but it was my job to be educated. So anybody who's on here criticizing that I've been brainwashed, I ask you, have you ever left your neighborhood? Have you ever participated in something bigger than yourself? And if the most you can say is that you're on a bunch of different Facebook pages, that's not going to cut it. You know, I've seen all kinds of different things all over the world. I've been to East Asia, stationed there. I was there for over a year. I lived in Italy for 3 years, traveled all over Europe. I get the opportunity to see more of the world than I think most people do. So I don't want to hear that I'm brainwashed. I think it's, in fact, quite the inverse. The people that have never left their home state are the ones who are having a lack of experience in the world. But let's ask, excuse me. All right, we're on a live stream right now. Would you be willing to discuss, you know, what's going on out here today? Is that okay?
Sure,
All right.
sure.
What's your name?
I'm Josh, man. What's going on?
So this is Josh. Are you from around here? Or you?
No, I'm from St. Louis, East St. Louis.
Okay. So in St. Louis, you know, you've traveled all this way just for this protest?
No, I live locally. Yeah.
Oh, you live locally here now. Okay. So what we've been talking about so far is economics. You know, challenges that you face in the black community that we don't face economically because of either underfunded schools or, you know, being approached differently when it comes to job opportunities and things like that. Has that been your experience when you were in St. Louis or when you lived here?
Absolutely, yeah. That's the going experience around here. But you know, we just gotta. You know, it's hard. You know, we do have disadvantages out here. You know, it's not saying it's an excuse. You know, but you know, we are stereotyped. Look at me, I'm a business owner. But if you see me, you know, some people may stereotype. You get what I'm saying? But I think, you know, we need a lot of funding. You know, a lot of people in the community leaders need to put more into the, you know, they putting stuff into the communities, don't get me wrong, you know, but it just continues to put stuff in the communities. But some stuff we can't avoid, you know. Even if we do the right things, you know, we still having police brutality, you know, we still having everything going on, you know.
So what is your, what is your business? City or business owner?
For me, I'm an entrepreneur. I develop mobile applications. I'm a barber.
Okay.
You know, I actually do multifamily invest in real estate. So.
Oh, you invest in real estate?
Assets,
okay, that's great
absolutely.
because this channel, the one that we're interviewing for right now, the one that we're live for, is an investing channel.
Oh, absolutely.
So
okay.
we're mostly stocks and equities, and maybe there's a couple of guys on here that do Forex or commodities. But I think there's a crowd on here. Do you guys want to hear a little bit about investing in real estate? We've got a business owner right here who manages real estate investments. I'm assuming yes, even though nobody's commented yet. So,
No, okay.
what do you make of, you know, we've got an economic downturn right now. There's a lot the government's doing to prop it up. But real estate is an area that I think a lot of people are worried about getting crushed by increasing unemployment, and the tax reductions aren't doing enough. What's your point of view on that?
Invest in multifamily assets, man. Multifamily. We focus on multifamily. We do ground up development projects also, you know, and it's great that you're doing Forex too. You know, Forex is a great opportunity. It's not going anywhere. You know, the stock market is just about building assets, you know. But we do multifamily is the best thing to do.
So do you do multifamily because you have a less risk of the property being vacant, so you won't wind up with your entire property being vacant if somebody fails to pay their rent or moves out or something like that? Is that the goal, or is it just a higher margin?
Well, the goal too is that actually when you invest in assets, so you want to invest in assets, but it's good to do single family, but single family, the problem is when you have your assets spread it out, sometimes you spread yourself thin. You get what I'm saying? But when you have assets in one area, just say you have 100 units in one area, all of your assets in one, you can manage them easily. Even if you hire somebody, you don't have to go around the whole entire world to manage your assets. You know, you can have them in one location.
Okay, so when you're in a more urban area, one, it's easier for you to manage, and it's also
it's just not urban area. We develop in every area. You get what I'm saying? It's not just urban area.
Okay, I can dig that. So there's people who have been asking in the comment section right now, they're interested in getting their first rental property. So obviously you advocate for multifamily. Is that something that you would advocate for people that are looking at their first opportunity to rent out a property? Would you recommend something different for the people that have never touched real estate before?
No, it's so many ways that you can make money in multifamily assets. There's so many opportunities that can be made. You can be actually JP, you could be a general partner, a lending partner. You know, you don't even have to have money to actually get into investments. You just have to know the right people and put the right deal together and make money financially off of the deal, you know, of the asset.
Now, what about stocks and equities? Are you invested?
I'm still learning. I'm actually taking a course in the Forex market.
Okay, all right, we got a Forexer
So,
here.
as long as you learn about support and resistance, I think you'll be okay.
So support and resistance line. Are you in options? This is the $1 million question for us. Are you involved in stock
Everybody said
options?
not Forex.
So Forex gets...
Invest in weed also.
All right, he says invest in weed,
Cannabis.
and he's interested in Forex. When it comes to auctions, you said you're still learning.
Yes.
All right, this channel is, everybody on here is in SPY 300 calls. Am I right, guys? At least SPY 300, more like SPY 350, 400. What about the marijuana ETF they're asking? You familiar with it, MJ?
No.
Alternative Harvest ETF?
I do Aurora Cannabis.
Yep, there it is,
Good.
ACV, Aurora Cannabis. We got more people
Absolutely, yeah,
all
it's
in
been good, yeah.
Aurora Cannabis.
Yep. And,
So that one's
cannabis
taking off.
technology also. Listen to me. Invest in cannabis technology is also a great opportunity.
All right, cannabis is the way to go. Forex is up in the air. Real
So,
estate from
the
Josh.
things that I'm telling you, I'm just trying to let you know, like, in order to build assets, you know, we work our whole life, and if you want to, you know, have assets that make money for you and pass down for generations. I just want to say, with a lot going on, man, everybody come together and stay focused. You get what I'm saying? You know, it's a lot going on, you know, in the world. You know, everybody, you know, just keep your head up and keep your faith, you know, and just really, you know, stay in tune with yourself. You know what I'm saying? Just keep the more education I think everybody have, the better we'll be. You know, the better the world will be, the more love we spread, the better it'll be also.
All right, you heard it here, guys. There we go. All right, thanks so much, Josh. Appreciate it. We're gonna hear what somebody else. Mike is Mike Millions is my name. You can find me on look me up Kamikaze Cash on YouTube. You'll find me in like 2 seconds. You got your whole interview on there.
Okay.
So all right, thanks so much for this. Good talking to you. I'm gonna try to find somebody who looks different and see what they have to say.
What do you mean different?
I'm gonna look for the oldest, richest white guy I can find and see what he has to say.
So what do you think the problem? Can I interview you on your channel? Like, what do you
all
think?
All right. So he wants to hear what I have to say.
Yeah,
so I
what
think,
you got to say?
Yeah, a good handful of issues I think stem from lack of education opportunities based on the fact that you're not getting as much funding in predominantly black schools. And it continues this chain where you're not getting, who's coming out to, you know, are you getting the best staff at a school where you're 98% black and the property taxes are low? I was lucky enough to have the opportunity that I had a lot of staff that were focused on finance and investments. I had entire classes based on that. So I got the opportunity fresh out of high school to start learning about finance, investing. I think that helped me out tremendously. And I don't think you get that from a lot of other places. In your high school, did you have
No, absolutely
finance?
you didn't. No,
So he did not. So Josh did not learn finance and economics. He had to learn that later in life, and that's a huge disadvantage. So I would love to see a push toward getting more of that personal finance type education in schools as early as we can reasonably get it. I think that would be a huge step in the right direction. And I want to see more people interested in jury duty. You know, you think the most impactful thing you can do for justice is to be part of a jury. And what is the first thing you do when you get a jury summons? You're like, oh, I can't go to this because I don't have time, I don't get paid, my boss isn't gonna like it.
I don't think it's a jury. I think, you know, a lot of us, we have to get into a position higher than a jury. You know, you got to be the extra person sitting behind the desk. You get what I'm saying? It's not just the jury being in the courtroom, it's actually controlling the courtroom and the laws and everything.
Yeah, I mean, well, don't get me wrong. I'd love to see judges that are more connected with younger people instead of 80-year-olds on the bench who, you know, aren't connecting with, they don't understand what a text message really is. So when they're looking at evidence, they don't quite connect with it the way younger people would do. You don't agree that we need to get more young people into the jury, into that system like that?
Absolutely. The more that you're around into the system and you understand how the laws and everything work, the more understanding you can have, be more, you know, some people speak off emotions and some people speak off facts of the law, you get what I'm saying? But,
yeah,
you know, we definitely have a disadvantage out here, you know, for the brothers and sisters. I know y'all hurting what's going on out through the world, but I can honestly say, man, keep the faith, y'all. Keep the faith. Where the camera? I'm looking at the camera. Keep the faith. Don't give up. Hey, it's a new time. It's a new change. And we here.
All right, I hear it. Hey, thanks so much.
And my job is, the only reason I'm telling you about finance is because in order to make a difference, you have to give more. The community needs more opportunity, so educate yourself to give the opportunity.
Right on. All right, best of luck with the business. Appreciate it. All right, hey, you heard it there. You know, somebody who sounds like he really built himself up. Now he started off, you know, I'm not going to make any assumptions about what it means to be from St. Louis. But, you know, now he's managing multiple businesses. Huh?
East St. Louis, that's important.
Oh, East St. Louis. I don't know what East St. Louis is like, but you're talking about somebody here who he built multiple businesses, and that says a lot about, you know, the power of keeping faith and working hard. So strong endorsement. Now what I'd love to do is find like an old rich white person that you'd probably expect to see more in like I don't know,
back
bougie.
when we parked on K Street.
Yeah, I'd love to hear what somebody like that has to say. I mean, the way he said East St. Louis does make me believe that it's like not like a very nice
Yeah,
town.
so East St. Louis, I'm from Kansas City area.
Oh, yeah,
so
yeah,
I
that's
kind
right,
of
that's
know a
right.
little bit about, you know, St. Louis is the next big city over. I mean, it's kind of like de facto segregated, like I was talking about, where it used to be really redlined back in the 30s and 40s, and then that still just kind of carried over into the modern day. I mean, so that's near Ferguson, Missouri, is just outside of St. Louis. And East St. Louis particularly is like, it's a area where it's just rampant with poverty, is predominantly black, primarily again through the kind of remnants of redlining from back in the day, which, like I said, still carries over. And Kansas City is also, where I'm from, is like literally a textbook example of redlining gone wrong.
Closer because I don't know if they can hear you. So he says Kansas City is an example of a place where redlining, that is drawing districts to make sure that people who are, you know, they're not able to fund their schools as effectively as they probably need to, is what I'm understanding.
Well,
let's check out what's going on here. Come over.
Yeah, we'll get into that later.
So, all right, we've got more work being done on the street. It looks like they're just painting a couple of gold stars. I don't know if that means anything particular symbolically. Oh, this is the DC flag. Oh yeah, it is the DC flag. That's right.
You have to stand back.
You got to stand back so you can see it. The DC flag is getting painted on the street. So, it looks like BLM Plaza is, you know, in some ways turning into an art exhibition. Also, and then we've got, you know, sitting protest over here. There's something in the middle. Let's go see if we can find out what it is.
Watching up the stuff that they are doing.
So here we go. End white silence. Probably All right, let's see if we can go and find some rich white person, and we're going to talk about economic opportunities in predominantly white communities versus what we just heard.
Yeah.
And somebody commented, they were like, "Say, isn't Josh, the one we were just talking to, an example of how you can build yourself up and make something of yourself?" And of course, absolutely. I mean, it sounds like he even educated himself when it comes to investing in finance, and a lot of people don't do that. But I'm pretty sure he was also close to about 40 years old, and he's still learning now about Forex. A guy like that probably could have benefited tremendously if we got earlier exposure to finance. So, this is Mikey, you're wasting your time. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
People aren't really exactly happy about hearing how there's more to life than, you know, making as much money as you can in options. And even though I'm a tremendous advocate for, you know, doing yourself right by investing early and making money like that, the only reason I knew about it as early in life as I did is because somebody taught me. You know, if you try to get your information off of YouTube, you're gonna have a rough time. If you have a proper mentor, it's advantageous. And I had Victor Byers at my school. Excellent staff, got me up nice and early, taught me how to invest correctly. So there are a lot fewer old white men here than I thought there were gonna be. It looks like the young crowd is really hitting the scene right now.
Yeah. Earlier in the morning, it was fairly old. You know, average age probably in the 40s, 50s. Now I'm looking around, average age probably 30, something like that. You're getting a lot of mix of, I mean, a lot of people out with their kids, you know, the kid's probably 8 years old right there. And then a lot of young families right now is what I'm seeing, actually.
It's still like super quiet though.
Yeah.
I was really expecting a lot more.
I mean, we're
like
only
action.
2 blocks away from where they set up the fence outside of Lafayette Square, and it's super quiet. It's like a Starbucks open around the corner.
But a lot of places boarded up though. You know, prepared for looting. I don't think you'd see any looting here anyway because it's just too crowded. I guess probably other parts of the town where you might see that sort of thing.
I don't anticipate that really happening anymore.
No,
personally,
not here.
Don't anticipate.
No, it's funny. As soon as all of the the riot police and the military bailed out, you started seeing less activity among protesters too.
You know, and I was actually really surprised, even right up against the gates of the Lafayette Square, didn't see a single cop. We're seeing some out here on the edge of the perimeter. But I mean, we're talking just regular city cops standing on a corner next to their squad car, nothing particular.
Yeah. And they're all bored. They're all very, very bored. I'd like to interview this guy. Sure. Do you think he'd be interested?
I don't know. When we find out.
Excuse me. We're doing a live stream for YouTube talking about the protests that are happening here. Would you be interested in sending a message? Would you like to discuss? I mean,
I would. I'm just trying to think of something.
no, it's cool. What's your name?
John Brennan.
All right, so we got John out here. Let me get a little bit further away. Let me go to the other side of you so I can.
Sure.
All right. So we got John out here. John is obviously white, and we're standing together in order to promote Black Lives Matter. I assume that's what you're here for. So,
Yes.
there's a lot of flack getting caught right now that we don't need to be here. This isn't our fight. What do you have to say to those people?
Well, it's everybody's fight, as far as I'm concerned, if you believe in racial equality and justice. I mean, what happened to George Floyd was absolutely horrifying to see. And it's really scary to think that there have probably been so many other incidents like this over the years where nobody was able to record it. And, you know, they're only known about to the person's family and loved ones. And it has to stop. I don't have any particular solutions myself, but it has to stop, and that's why I wanted to be here.
Yeah. Now, so you described that you don't really have any solutions in mind. This channel is mostly focused on finance and education. So, one of the solutions that we proposed was getting more opportunities for, you know, the poorest of schools. You know, they tend to be predominantly black, or at least predominantly black schools tend to have the least funding, so they don't have the proper staff. They're not getting educated on personal finance early. One of the solutions we proposed was finding a way to fund those schools better, to get people the opportunity to see that, you know, early in life, opportunities for economic advancement, finance. What do you think of that? I mean, are you familiar with
that does sound to me like a very good idea. You know, I can't offer any expertise on the subject, but I think it's something that ought to be very seriously investigated, and I don't see why it wouldn't work. Let's put it that way.
Okay. And I'm sure the question that everybody would want to ask is, are you invested in the stock market yourself?
I am, yes.
Okay, what's your holding right now? Or not number-wise, but like what assets are you holding? Are you like broad economy, or are you focused on certain companies?
It's pretty much left up to the investment company. I go more for safety due to my age. You know, if the market really tanks, I don't want to lose too much money.
Right. So what did you make of the tremendous drop that we saw in March?
It was scary.
Yeah.
It was scary. I considered getting out of the stock market, but sometimes panicking about things like that can be the worst thing you can do from your own personal point of view. So I stayed in it, and it is improving. I'm still, you know, down considerably since then. But,
yeah. Well, what did you talk to your financial advisor?
Yes.
What did they have to say? Did they recommend the same thing you just said, is to not panic, stay cool?
Exactly, yes.
Okay.
I mean, that can be pretty much standard operating procedure for outfits like that. But yes, I do trust the person I'm working with.
Okay, right on. So we've got a buy and hold investor, more or less, under the supervision of somebody whose job it is specifically to make sure that their clients are well taken care of.
Yes.
So
yes, most of this comes in a 401k for the company I work for.
What company is that? Do you mind sharing?
It's a law firm, Covington and Burling.
Okay, working for a law firm. So 401ks get employer matching?
They do, yes.
That's awesome.
To a certain
Yeah, that's huge. I mean, it's like free money, literally free money.
Yes.
If your company offers you a 401k match, at least invest that before you go and putting any money into stock options. Match that free money, and it's like getting paid more from your employer. You were going to put it in the stock market anyway. Let the company pay you to put it in the stock market. So I'm digging it. Cool. Anything else you want to have to say before you sign off?
No, nothing I can think of at the moment, other than it's been very inspiring to see all the protesters coming out the last few days, and it's been very peaceful the last few days.
Okay.
So I hope it stays so. And frankly, I think the lighter security presence has had a lot to do with that. I think there's been a great deal of provocation by the authorities, and I'm glad to see that seems to have been cut back on. That doesn't seem to be happening anymore, and the result is a peaceful demonstration with hundreds of thousands of people.
Yep, we were just saying that prior as well. As soon as the riot police and the army left, all of a sudden people are not so interested in throwing rocks anymore.
Yeah.
Right on. All right, John, thanks so much. Appreciate your time. I'd shake your hand, but we don't do that anymore.
Okay.
So, oh, last thing. Everybody here wants a stock tip. Give us one. Doesn't matter if it's right or wrong. Just give me one. Just say spy.
I'm sorry.
What do you think? Just give us one. It doesn't matter what it is.
One, I can't. Quite honestly, it's.
All right. Well, he says he can't think of one. I see on his hat right now he's got Sweden. So somebody drop me the Sweden ETF. You know, that's one of the economies that did not close. So we'll see the economic impacts of that. Drop the Sweden ETF and we'll see what we got. So, all right, John, thanks so much.
Okay,
Appreciate it.
sure.
Take care.
Take care. Bye-bye.
All right, so now we heard from somebody. Now I want to point out something very interesting that just happened there is that, you know, prior we had talked to somebody who grew up poor, black. When he talks about his opportunities for investment and economic advancement, he's talking about building himself up through, you know, individualized type investment level into his own barbershop, in his own real estate trust. You talk to the older white guy. He's got a financial advisor who teaches him buy and hold into to ETFs. I think that's, I mean, there's no right or wrong way to do, there's no right or wrong answer between those two, but it is a marked contrast between how you approach investing. I thought that was interesting. What I'd like to do now is find an Asian person, because I want to see, we'll do one more interview and then we can stop doing the live stream, but I want to see what an Asian person has to say, because there's a lot of flack getting caught in the comments section about, well, why don't Asians have anything to say for themselves? And it must be because they take more personal responsibility than black people. So I want to see if that is what an Asian person has to say about that. And I know we had one in the comments section, but you're anonymous behind a screen and you have an anime avatar of some so I don't know who you are. I want to see somebody who looks like preferably somebody from like China or Korea, and I want to see what they have to say about all that. So. And I also want to see if anybody has anything to say about J-Powell's printers. You know, the economic just drop that we've seen, and yet the stock market is hitting all-time highs. Is it because, are people outside of this community, do people believe that's because J-Powell is printing? Or is there something else? Are we looking at, you know, coronavirus being canceled and the riots just quelling with nothing changing, and we're back on glide path toward wealth? That's kind of what I want to see. What people have to say. I don't know, Jay, are you familiar with the J-Powell?
No.
And his printers?
No.
So when the economy was crashing, Jerome Powell, who I think is going to be heralded as like the savior of the U.S. during this economic meltdown that we're seeing,
Bold claim.
I think he will be. He turned on the printers, and now they're talking about trillions and trillions of dollars of stimulus just getting dumped into, you know, the U.S. economy. The government is basically paying employers not to fire people.
Yeah.
Which is kind of an awkward situation that's not sustainable. But J. Powell turned on his printers, and at maximum speed, 24-hour shifts, the Federal Reserve is printing money.
Yeah.
And dumping it into the government funds, which then fund all these programs.
Yeah.
And that's propping up what could have been a much more devastating situation.
Now, I'll tell you that I'm not an economist, nor do I claim to even pretend to be an economist. Oh no. But generally, that's something you want to avoid, of course. But, I mean, listen, these are extremely extenuating circumstances. It's maybe something that you can't avoid these days. I know a lot of people did really rely on, and it really helped them with the stimulus check. But, you know, I don't really speak from a educated enough position on that, I would say. But...
Well, given all of that, you know, between what Jay said and what J. Powell is doing, I'll share my positions with you. So, I'm staying naked on Apple. I've got 2 leaps on SPY. One of them I'm selling covered calls against. One of them is staying naked, because there's been so much upside lately that I don't want to miss out by covering all of my leaps with calls. So buying one leap and then selling a call against it is a poor man's covered call. I've done 2 of those, but kept one leap naked instead of selling a covered call against it. I've also got 400 triple Q, 430 triple Q, 2 of which are covered, and 2 of those lots are naked. And then I'm also playing some smaller securities with poor man's covered calls. And also doing an NVIDIA poor man's covered call as well. I found that is one of the best ways to invest is with poor man's covered calls, because you don't need a lot of capital in order to achieve it, in order to get a decent amount of premium against it. I'm kind of trailing off, but I'm looking for a Korean person. Where are we at?
There's an Asian family over there. They're doing some sort of demonstration.
Oh, that would be perfect. All right, we see a group of, they look like Hong Kongers, honestly.
I have no clue. They had American accents. But when you were talking to that first fellow, I could hear them. So they must be some local folks, you know.
Yeah. Well, let's see. Oh, it looks like there's let's see what they have to say. There's some kind of presentation going on here, so let's check it out. Somebody asked me what my investing graph looks like. That depends on if you're talking about my Robinhood account or if you're talking about my big boy account. Robinhood one looks like shit because I YOLO'd onto SPY puts, which was like the worst possible idea ever. The big boy account looks good because I was able to take advantage of more upside. All right. I don't know what Suru is, but I have no idea what Suru is or what's going on here. But
There we go. Let's find out.
all right, I guess we'll find out what Suru has to say. So those that are asking, what does the Asian community have to say about this? Let's check it out.
We're going to go live in about 20 minutes.
Never mind. Never mind. He's going live in 20 minutes. We'll
For
probably.
more information about us, you can look us up on sudoforsolidarity.org. A coalition of Japanese Americans here to protest the illegal incarceration of immigrant children and families, and also to speak out against the violence against the black community.
What was the first thing you said? Like violence against which community? Imprisonment?
Imprisonment of immigrant communities, a Japanese organization. They can maybe.
Oh, this is good.
Would you like to talk? He's on a live stream.
Would you?
Oh, goodness.
Would that be okay? Okay. All right, that's great. So we're tuning in. This is it pronounced Suru?
Actually, I would rather not be filmed, but she might be filmed.
Okay, so she doesn't want to be filmed, but we're going to tune in. She's looking for somebody that's going to be willing to talk to us a little bit about it.
I can hold some of that stuff. You got a lot in your hands.
All right.
I don't have pockets. So.
Oh, that's okay. All right. So is it pronounced Suru?
Suru.
Suru. All right, so we have a representative of Suru here. What is your name?
My name's Michelle.
Michelle. So this channel is, we're typically focused on finance and things like that, but we're taking the opportunity today to come out here and see what's happening on the street. You're talking about, inequality among races, different economic impacts of different communities. What do you want to say about the Tsuru community or your movement, as it relates to what's going on in the U.S. right now?
So for the Suru, it's a paper crane, and if you recall from World War II, with the bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, a young Japanese girl folded 1,000 cranes with a prayer for peace. And so in that same action, we've been in this movement for the last a few years, actually fighting against the detention of migrant children and women along the border. And so we were actually supposed to have a national convening of thousands of folks from across the country and folks that are sending these cranes here to DC. We were supposed to have it in person this weekend, and because of COVID, we canceled it. But it's very timely for us to be here during this time as we stand in solidarity, not only for peace and recognition of those who are unlawfully detained along the borders, women and children in particular, but we also stand in solidarity with Black Lives Matters as we, acknowledge that we're all interconnected, and to provide our solidarity is one action, direct action to support against police brutality.
All right, I dig it. So, since we are focused mostly on finance on this channel, I want to ask, there's a lot of people on this live stream right now who have been saying that the Asian community is so separate from the struggles of black people in the United States, but it sounds like you don't agree with that at all.
No.
In fact, you're quite the opposite of that. So do you want to address those people that are saying that the Asians there's no dog in this fight for the Asian community?
Yeah.
This isn't for you. What do you have to say about it?
That's a very old stigma, myth on Asians, that we're model minorities, that, we've made it. To even say Asians have all made it, doesn't recognize the diversity within.
It's like 40% of the world's population.
Yeah,
Something like that,
and with Southeast Asians and Pacific Islanders and Native Hawaiians, who many are living under the poverty line and have drastically low rates of home ownership and wealth accumulation, they are considered Asian and Pacific Islander, and so we're not doing well collectively. And we recognize, the dynamics within our own community, and also, that even talking about police brutality, Asians and Pacific Islanders have a rate of being, dealing with police brutality and high incarceration rates, which does affect your accumulation to wealth and access to job opportunities.
So it almost sounds like, when people are saying that Asians, they find a way to always make it economically, they don't face the same challenges. It sounds almost like it's cherry-picked data. The reason you feel that way is because you're looking at the Asians who made it and saying, this is an example of what all Asians aspire to be and should be and will become. But you're not focusing on the whole crowd when you say that. You're talking about
No,
Pacific
no.
Islanders. There's people who are facing a lot of the same challenges as the black community. Maybe they don't have as much of a voice.
Yeah.
It's not. There's no Southeast Asian Lives Matter
Right.
movement, something
Right.
like that. So.
Well, I mean, and that's the thing that many of our colleagues have been fighting for here in Washington, D.C. to disaggregate the data within Asian American and Pacific Islanders, because there are many folks who are Hmong or Vietnamese, you know, Pacific Islanders, Tongans, you know, Samoans who are facing high rates of incarceration, and you know, and also dealing with challenges in wealth accumulation.
Yeah,
so,
yeah, okay.
You know.
And speaking of wealth accumulation, last thing I want to ask, because we are a finance channel, are you invested right now?
Am I invested?
Are you invested in U.S. stock market?
My partner is.
Partner?
Yes,
your
yeah.
partner, like your
My,
domestic partner, or are you talking about like a partner in business?
my domestic partner.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. What are the? So are you, with all the you know, economic up and down, the stock market crashing and rising again? What's the play right now? Can you speak for your partner? What's the play? Are you investing more? Are you pulling money out of the market?
Well, we're looking, you know, we're watching it. He watches it kind of incessantly, and I tell him just to let it cool down sometimes. So, you know, he's been investing in oil. I know
right.
for sure, but you know,
So
he's
there it
just
is,
been watching
oil. Ladies and gentlemen, you heard it here from Michelle. Invest in oil, tickers USO. If you want to get on the vanilla type, low quality, not low quality, but low capital requirement is USO. If you want to get in the triple leveraged, it's UCO. Those are your opportunities. And of course, you've got the big dividend payers like Chevron and ExxonMobil, all traded on the big big exchanges. So that's our tip for today. So far, we've got the Sweden ETF, real estate, and now oil is the third ticker tipped off.
Well, I also have to say, with all these corporations, you know, with Black Lives Matter, we need to hold them accountable as well. So you invest, but you also hold them accountable for their actions into this movement as well.
Yeah, it's possible to invest while also requiring high standards out of the company itself.
Yes.
So I'm on board with that. All right, thanks
you.
so much, Michelle.
Thank
We'll
you.
if we're still around, we'll check it out later when you guys get started.
Okay, thank
So.
you.
All right, there it is, guys. So oil is the now the third opportunity that popped up. This is from Michelle, representing the Tsuru movement. So USO is, you know, it's crazy because, you know, just 2 months ago we were talking about how USO it's not going to be able to sustain itself. It's going to go bankrupt. We're looking at insolvency from that organization. Now you look at, you know, after a reverse split, it's remarkably turned around. It's unbelievable. I don't know if, you know, I mean, I'm talking about just the stock has turned around. I don't necessarily know about the ETF itself. And I've seen a lot of people get wiped out by UCO, which is the triple leveraged one. But if you're willing to, you know, look for some leverage on the US oil market, then UCO is the way to go. So I'm getting dirty looks right now. It's okay. She gave me dirty looks. Oh, forgive me then. So, oh, you're interested? Okay, so it's funny. Sorry about that. I thought you were looking at me because you were like, that this isn't what it's about. It's about finance here. We're coming together for something different. We're on live stream. Would you be interested in putting out a message to the crowd, the community, anything like that?
Sure. What kind of message are you looking for?
So there's a lot of people here. You know, this is mostly a finance channel that we're discussing right now.
That's not the right girl.
But we're looking for information regarding what did people make of the whole stock market crash and then immediate rise that we saw between March and now. Are you invested? Are you taking money out? What's the play right now?
Yeah, I don't ask me about stock. Not
Do
the
you
right one,
have-
but
so are
it
you
is
not invested?
interesting. It is interesting when it goes up and down based on the people being frightened and comments that our people in power are saying, and that's where it goes up and down. People get scared.
What do you make of Jerome Powell and the stimulus? Do you think that's having a big effect? Has Jerome Powell saved the economy, or is he building up for more damage later?
You know what? I'm not your girl for
Okay.
that one.
So
but
are you not invested in the stock market?
A little bit.
A little bit. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I leave it up to people like you to tell me what to do.
Oh, so you have a financial advisor? Okay. I
Thank
dig
you.
it.
Have a good
Take care.
time. Thank you.
She really was not interested in finance. She said she was interested, and then I started asking her questions, and she's like, I don't know shit. So, she didn't even know who Jerome Powell was. So, but she did say she's invested, and I think that it's another example of people that really don't have a lot of education on the market. They're still able to participate by finding a financial advisor. And so far, the old white people that I've talked to have all found financial advisors, and they probably just throw their money into like the S&P 500 and they're done. I can't find Jay. He disappeared. I think he might have ditched me, actually, because he got bored since I wasn't paying attention to him. Yeah, but that lady, though, she was like, dude, I don't know shit about economics or finance, but I bet you she had some wealth. So, we found Jay again. I thought he left me because he was getting bored.
Standing in the shade. Because this dog is the softest dog.
So what we just found, we were talking to the Tsuru lady, and she's recommending investment into oil, which I thought was interesting. And then I talked to an old white woman who doesn't know, she knows precisely dick about finance, but still had money because she had a financial advisor. So, a second point, or, as I'm making this before, you don't really need to know what you're doing to participate in finance if you have enough money that a financial advisor is interested in you. So she basically told me, have a nice day. It's been nice talking. I'm not your girl for this discussion. Right after telling me she was interested in hearing what I had to say. So,
yeah.
All right,
be like that a lot of the time.
Yeah, it do be like that sometimes.
Ew.
All right, well, what do we do now? You want to take one more lap through the BLM Plaza, and then, I don't know, I guess we'll wrap this up unless there's somebody who wants me to do something in particular. I don't know. Do you guys want me to discuss something specifically? Or should we just take another lap through here? And I guess, I don't know. I guess let's just take a walk. Yeah, we'll see.
I would be interested to talk to these people who were doing a silent protest, except I think people doing a silent protest are not typically ones to talk.
Mm-hmm. Well, that makes sense, actually.
Yeah, that tracks. It said something like Quakers, DC? I didn't know Quakers were a thing still.
I think they still got Quakers out there. But finance and money, and the people that have the most of it are the ones that are least likely to talk about it. The ones that we talked to that had money, had financial advisors, they probably don't even know what holdings they are. Both of them couldn't even give me a single stock ticker, and yet they have a financial advisor who's managing their money for them. Now, I'm wondering, is that coincidental? We only talked to 2 people about it, but the one who, at least started with no money, Josh, and then made money later, he was the most willing to discuss finance out of everybody. And then we found Michelle, who was willing to talk about somebody else's money, but not her own, because she doesn't invest herself. She lets her partner do it. And I didn't know if she was talking about like a boyfriend, girlfriend, or if she was talking about like a business partner. I couldn't tell until I asked, and it was kind of awkward. But she was able to give me at least 1 ticker. And then the old white lady didn't even know who J. Powell was, or Jerome Powell when I said his whole name. She still didn't know. So the more you have to build for yourself, the more educated you become is the trend that I've seen so far. There's really not as much going on here as I expected there to be today. I thought there was going to be at least 1 person with a loudspeaker. So far, the only loudspeaker that we've seen is like the medical people advising that everyone drink water. So a little bit lame. But so far, everybody I've went up to is more than happy to talk, except the lady that didn't know shit about finance. And she said she was interested and then realized she didn't know what she was talking about, so she left.
Be like that.
She's like, oh, I'm interested in what you're saying. I started talking to her about it. She said she was cool to talk about it, and then I was like, all right, I don't actually know anything. So. All right. I don't know. Here's some people.
Yeah, this is Laborers International. It's a union headquarters.
You want to do a tag team interview? I don't know. I feel bad. I'm just kind of like letting you walk around and not really paying attention to you.
I am just
doing exactly what you felt like doing today. So.
Yep.
I don't know. What do you guys think? Should we ask these people if they want to have something to say? I don't know. I can't tell. The people are sitting there silently. So I don't know if they want to be interrupted. I am looking for like somebody who's not from the United States originally.
Yeah.
Is what I'm looking for.
Yeah, it'd be hard to just spot them out. 1, everyone's wearing a mask. 2, DC is just a very diverse place, A
lot of mixed race people.
Yeah, correct. I've seen a lot of young families. That was something that I thought was actually really interesting. A lot of people out here with their kids. I mean, there's 2 right there. Yeah. I mean, but we're seeing it like it's a very diverse group of people out here.
Yeah,
they also
sure.
like my dog, which is great because my dog is wonderful.
Oh, and that dude that just said in the comments, "Is he my boyfriend?" No, don't be fucking ridiculous, man. Come on. People can go to a protest together without like gay dating. It's cool, man. No, we've known each other for several years now.
We used to
We used to work together, so. And then we both wound up in DC because that's where a lot of people wind up when they, you know, are government shills.
Yep.
This is so much quieter than I was anticipating. I mean, this is BLM Plaza, which I know. Hey, not my wife's boyfriend either. Come on. We'd be fighting right now. Let me find out. Those asking, this is BLM Plaza. So it was 16th Street. They renamed it and they just painted the whole street to make sure that everybody kind of gets it.
You can actually see pretty well on the sign right there. This is 16th and K, or Black Lives Matter and K.
Oh yeah, they actually put up the sign. It's not a colloquial name. They really put up the sign here. So. All right, I want to find one person who's actually able to talk about finance and stocks, and then I'd say we've had a less successful live stream than I wanted to. But I don't know. Let's go talk to those guys on benches, and then we'll do one more. And you want to wrap this up?
Sure, man.
All right, let's go back.
Here for the experience.
So you guys are asking me what company do I work for? I don't know if I should tell you. It's not that exciting anyway, but. You know, I like to keep my like work life, because I still have to have a day job at this point, probably for another year or two. Maybe I can quit and become a full-time YouTuber later, but I don't want my company to know what I'm doing out here just because I don't know who's going to be managing personnel.
Yeah.
So that's all about that. But no, I don't work directly for the government. I work for a company that works for the government. That's how I wound up in DC, even though it's probably one of the last places I wanted to go to, just because it's so friggin' expensive out here.
Yeah.
Buying a house with more than one bedroom in it is like at least $450,000.
A one-bedroom apartment here in DC is the same as a 5-bedroom, 5-bath house in Kansas City.
Yep. All right, about to walk. So you can get a mansion in Louisiana with a pool and like a full-time pool boy.
Yeah.
For about the same as maybe like a 2-bedroom,
yeah,
1-bathroom apartment.
A shitty 1-bedroom apartment in DC. I just saw one go for $350K.
Mm-hmm. $350K for a shitty 1-bedroom, 1-bath.
And it was like trash.
Yep.
I wouldn't have even stayed there in college. I would have been upset.
Yep, I hear that. I don't know how people live here, honestly. Like,
yeah.
How? You can make $100,000 a year and be like maybe middle class.
Yeah.
If you're good.
That's.
If you have few other debts, you might make it. And there's also tax too. Oh hey, look, it's Josh again. Josh, what's up?
What's up, man? I
We're,
get your name. I gotta get your.
Oh
yeah, I forgot
name.
To
This is.
People check out. I don't know if y'all check out Bigger Pockets, and I think somebody said.
Bigger Pockets. Yeah.
Check out Rod Khalif too. That's actually my brother-in-law. So I get your card, and anybody want to take Rod Khalif? He's #1 podcast for multi-family real estate and investing. Hit me up.
Okay, you'll hear that. Say that name one more time so we can hear it.
Rod Khalif.
There he is. Okay. And our channel, you'll see yourself Kamikaze Cash.
Okay.
Or type Mikey Millions and you'll find me in like 2 seconds. All right, right on.
Thanks, man. Have a good one.
That dude's cool as fuck. By the way.
It seemed like that was just a dude that we randomly picked out. Like, hey, you're standing right here. And
well, I think
he had a lot to say.
People that are alone tend to be the ones that are most interested in talking. You guys want to talk to this guy?
Sure.
Let's see what he has to say. Excuse me. We're doing a live stream right now. Would you like to talk and address the group?
Who are you live streaming to?
This is live streaming to my own channel. So this is we're mostly related to finance and investment, but we're interested today. Oh, that's okay. That's okay.
Right.
I mean, today we're out here because we want to see what's happening in DC on the square.
Okay.
So it looks like you've got.
Where are you guys located?
My house. It's all done online.
In DC?
So it's in D. Well, I live in Alexandria.
Oh, okay.
So
all right.
we're coming to DC today to check it all out and see what's happening
All right.
here. So
I can say
yeah,
whatever.
right on.
What
So
do you got?
who is Chandler? Who's
Who's
Chandler
Chandler?
2020?
Chander.
I'm sorry.
J.
I'm not
Arman.
familiar with Chander.
He is a candidate for at-large council here in DC, independent.
Okay. So what's Chander's stance?
What's his
Like
stance?
what's the primary go-to?
Well, no, he wasn't in the primary. We don't vote for him until November.
Okay, right on.
He has to fill that independent slot.
Mm-hmm.
He's running against like 15 other people.
Okay, that's a kind of a big crowd to fight with.
Yeah, sure.
All right, so why should people vote for Chander then? What's
because
the
he's
move?
a good guy for one thing. He was ANC, was an ANC commissioner and chairman of the 686. And he's for the people. I mean, he works for the people. He believes in more education, more money going into arts and music for one thing. He thinks
All right, I dig that.
more money should be diverted for that. They've cut back on the arts for the kids.
Hey,
So-
more money for the kids and for the
And
families, so you can't
he
go
really
against that.
believes in the small businesses, especially now that this virus is hit. It's really,
Yeah. Well, speaking of the
Really?
virus, are you worried about the massive crowds gathering here spreading coronavirus?
Nah, you know, I come fairly early. I was here the other day in the afternoon, but nah, most people seem to be wearing masks. And
Yeah.
it's really not, I mean, like yesterday it looked pretty crowded. I didn't come down.
Yeah, yeah.
I was down early in the morning like today.
So coronavirus canceled, SPY to 400. You with it?
Coronavirus canceled? Is that what you're saying?
Is coronavirus canceled?
No, by no
Coronavi-
means.
We've got a no to the coronavirus
You've got to
canceled.
listen to Dr. Anthony
Fauci. There's our
I met
man.
him in 1984
All right. He met Anthony Fauci
Yep.
in 1984.
out in Building 10 at NIH.
Really? No kidding.
He was treating a partner of mine who had AIDS.
So do you accept the conspiracy theories against him, that he was responsible for this?
No. This guy.
Strong pass on the
This
no.
guy is too good. This guy is a saint. He seriously is. If you listen to the character that's in the White House right now and his cronies, please, then you're living in another world. That's all I can say. That's all I can
So
say.
we've got endorsement for Anthony Fauci, endorsement for Chander. Wants to put more money back into the community, especially into the education system. We can get behind that for sure.
For sure.
And keep paying attention.
Small businesses.
And we've got a no for coronavirus being canceled. That means SPY not going to 400. You want to start selling covered calls around the 330 level, which is the previous high.
I
Get
don't
in
know
on that
what
opportunity.
Matthew's talking. I wasn't good at numbers, but now the virus is here, and it's here for a while, and we need to get used to that. We need to get used to a number of things. We need to get used to the new world as far as virus, and we need to fucking create the new world that I've been fighting for over 50 years. Okay? I mean, I've been doing this. I'm 69, almost 70.
Hey,
I've been doing
69.
this. I'm a native Washingtonian.
Oh, you've
I've
been here
lived
that long,
all my
okay.
life. I was born here.
Is the city going in the right direction?
For
Or are we
sure.
going- we are.
For
Okay, that's
sure.
good.
For sure.
That's some of the silver lining that we're
It
seeing
just
here. At
needs
least there's
that-
some good news.
There needs to be more attention paid to those of us, and I'm retired, not on much, but to those of us who are in the lower income brackets, who really don't want to. We just need proper health care and things like that.
Healthcare,
He's
yeah.
pretty good about that, regardless whoever is in power.
Mm-hmm.
And the mayor, I have issues with the mayor. The only issue I really have with the mayor is the stadium. She wants another stadium. I don't. I definitely don't.
Yeah.
I'm totally against that.
All right. So it sounds to me, what I'm hearing here is covered calls, long calls, especially FDs on the healthcare industry. We're looking for reform. Until reform happens, we're getting more of the same. So calls on UNH might be a good choice.
And white people need to wake up and get educated. I'm trying. There are things that I've learned just in the last 10 days. Seriously. That I just, I knew about racism, but I didn't know how interwoven it is into our society. All right, I gotta go.
Yep, thank you so
very
much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. That was not what I was expecting from that conversation.
All right.
All right, so I'm satisfied. What do you want to do now?
I mean, I just do want to point out that we're right in front of AFL-CIO. It's a very large union, one of the largest unions in America and possibly the world. It is moderately problematic. AFL-CIO does actually represent a handful of police unions. So I feel like that's one of the reasons why sometimes, you know...
Completely boarded up.
Yeah, and there is some graffiti that has been attempted to remove on the side. There's been a pretty big push amongst the movement union to get AFL-CIO to divest from the police unions, but that's a completely different topic. But it is, I mean, when you're talking finance and you're talking economics, unions do play a significant portion in that, for better or worse, depending on who you ask. But yeah.
Well, it depends a lot on who you ask. You're right about that one.
Yeah.
You'll hear that they're either the best thing or the worst thing out there. So, all right. Yeah, I was expecting a lot more like action going on out here today. A little bit I'm not gonna say I'm disappointed with the turnout. I think this is great. I think there's gonna be a lot more later in the day, but unfortunately I can't stick around long enough to, you know, see the mass demonstrations that are probably gonna be taking place later. So yeah, in summary, some of the trends that we saw, no matter who you talk to, everybody agrees that there is oppression somewhere in the US. We might not agree on where that is or whose fault it is, but we agree that something's got to change. And even the guy that I was talking to, the one that looked like a hippie, was actually very well spoken and pretty well educated, even though he looked kind of funky.
Yeah, I didn't really hear what you were saying, but he did seem like he was saying he's talking from some educated position.
Yeah, he had a lot of good things to say. Especially, I think probably the number one most important issue that we've got coming up. Just ignore what's happening here today. Most important issue of the next election, I think, should be healthcare. Starting with focusing on people's health, getting people to see a doctor when they need one, instead of being afraid to go see a doctor because they can't afford the premium. Next thing they know, their condition has now spiraled, and instead of $400 of medical costs, they've now got $16,000 of medical costs, and their insurance doesn't want to pay for it because they didn't get care when they needed it initially. I think that's probably having a huge effect on economics as well. If we want to promote wealth, we got to promote health first, is what I think. And that guy kind of reminded me of that, and that was pretty cool. So, all right, I guess that's it for now. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. If the Federal Reserve is not far away and we can hit it on the way back, I'll go ahead and take a picture or something from it. So I want to see what's happening. If we can see in the windows, maybe J Pow is hanging out there. So
working them printers.
Working them printers, 24-hour shifts, direct supervision, you print. So, all right, thanks guys. Appreciate everything. I'll catch you all later.
Maybe.